So I see these waves. I saw these waves coming at the time, and then a lot of people were on the ground now after 3 months, not knowing what to do, realizing, hold on a second, I'm out of status. What do I do? And some had gone to even to the immigration office, and they're saying, like, listen, too many of you are coming with these problems. Organize yourself, and then try to streamline the help and information sharing. And so a couple of people kept coming back to me with this. So with within the larger group, because I was already living on the continent since 2010, 2011. So I had experience, and I've again worked with NGOs. So, and did understand the whole immigration and migration processes, because I moved from Ethiopia to Kenya, and from Kenya to Tanzania, and so and Ghana, and so I was comfortable and familiar with the processes of migrating. So I said, you know what, let me help. So I led the charge to create this organization, the Sixth Region African Diaspora Alliance in Tanzania. And it was created to help. Some people were sharing pictures, on many of the social media. Oh, we're in Dar es Salaam, we're in Zanzibar, and it's just beautiful. Come on down. And so when people would get in touch with some people via these social media outlets, questions will be asked that some people couldn't answer. So I ended up having to give information. Okay, so before you come, right, you don't need the yellow card if you're coming from the US. But if you're coming from Jamaica or the Caribbean, yes, you'll need it. And so preparation information was needed. Some things are simple, but some things you can find it to be significant. And then when you get here, as soon as you get out the airport, find a telephone shop and get your SIM card. And then, it didn't even dawn on me that some people in the US were not familiar with WhatsApp.
Exactly.
Serious,
Okay.
seriously.
There we go.
Yeah.
Bring
Yeah.
up the realities, Nana, because these are the realities that persons need. See, when we were speaking earlier, I don't mean to throw your thoughts off. It's just really critical. So when persons vibe on, I'd like to go and see the motherland, be there and feel the experience, and my vibe. You need to go with the right intention, yes. But it's good to
Mm-hmm.
be prepared. Traveling
Mm-hmm.
is not just jumping on a plane and jumping off and thinking it's just going to be pizzam. You have to
Mm-hmm.
prepare. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful to have you be able to share with us on the ground, speaking to us from Tanzania, speaking to us
Mm-hmm.
with this experience. So please continue.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Because then if you don't get the true heads up, you can run into some issues that I would say could be avoidable. Avoidable issues. Some can be very serious for some people. So it really is important to do your best. And nowadays it's difficult to even find out what's credible information or not. But if you check a few different sources, you'll see certain things that are common and can extrapolate. Okay, this
Mm.
should be true because it's similar in all of these different places. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that.
Um, right. And so when you have people that that you come, you settle in, and then we were also telling them, okay, remember to note your dates. People were confusing the visa from a landed stamp, because you'll get a visa for 1 year, but when you land, you only get a 3 months landed stamp.
Okay,
And so
explain
some
that one
people
more
paid
time. Because,
attention.
right. So let me just get that. So you could get a visa for 1 year. However,
Hmm.
when you land, then the stamp is really for 3 months. And so then what do you do?
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
to go.
So one, yeah, you pay much attention to it. You can get an extended, you can get an extension. The extension is only for a month, though. So if you are intending on staying, if you're coming for a vacation or to check it out, no worries. By 3 months, that's enough time for you to go to different places, see what places, yeah, that resonates with you. Some people like a cooler area, a more lush area. Some people like the beach scene. Some want to be in the thick of things. So that's enough time for you to really go around a bit, get some information, go down to the investment center, go down to, check out the hospitals, things like that. And in your process to make a good decision, is this the place? Do I want to stay here? And then
Right.
you can, right, proceed with the process of staying. You see?
Mm,
So for those who didn't know and then finding out and had not gotten a chance to figure out how they're going to stay, it's something that over time, over these last 4 years, it now has a name. It's called a border run. And so,
That's I don't know. That sounds that's a serious term. That means a very different thing when you're between California and Mexico. I'm just
yes, yep,
wow.
yep,
Okay. Mm,
exactly. Yeah. So most people are doing a border run. So, they'll go to some other country in order to go and then return and get another 3 months.
mm,
Um, yes. So if you're single or it's just a couple and you're a digital nomad, so you are working, it's not too bad. And it's a nice way to get to see other places in Africa, you
right.
know?
Right.
Um, and so, yes, you can do that. And most people have. But then when you're looking at, we've come across families.
Mm,
Uh, one of my go-to anecdote family is 5 children, husband and wife, and
yes.
grandmother. So you're looking at 8 people. And so to be doing a border run every 3 months for 8 people is expensive, right? Uh,
Okay,
yeah.
you just gave me another vision. So we're not just speaking 111. We it's like a set of fees for the entire family. Mm,
hmm Yeah.
okay.
Plus, the fare to go to the next country and then hotel stay while you're there and food and whatnot, and then to come back to get, you know what I mean? That additional 3 months.
How long do you have
So,
to? How long do you have to be out? Like, how long does that take? Like, do you get to stay for a week, a month?
yeah, for a week is good. Earlier on, let's say 2 years ago, people were doing it for like a day or 2 days,
Oh, okay.
but immigration is that no, um, you're just going across to come back. No, if you say you're going to visit the place, visit the place.
Mm,
So people, it's been like 4 days to a week,
okay.
and then to return. Yeah,
That's amazing.
and yeah, and so if you're starting a business and that's what you're doing in the meantime, it can be disruptive because that means you're having to leave your operation to then go out for a week to come back, and sometimes you can't time that with other things that needs to be done. They're coming to wire the office with fiber,
Right.
and it coincides with the same time that you have to leave. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So,
I'm listening to you, and we're learning a valuable amount of information. Again, for those that might have just joined us, you're tuned into Building a New Legacy with our speak. This is your host, Queen Mother Dr. Chinzera. I am joined by none other than Nana Grace Abena James, who serves a number of entities, but specifically within the Sixth Region African Diaspora Alliance in Tanzania. And we really are learning a bit about this transition when you speak of and put into action repatriating from wherever you are in the diaspora into the African continent. I think it's really valuable information for persons that are thinking about having more than one residence, you know, being able to connect home. I think it's really important for persons to just be familiar with what that technique, the strategy, the type of planning, the resources, and just making sure that you're secure and that you're safe, right? But please, I would love to also know, so what are some of the key recommendations that you would suggest? We definitely aren't going to do the bring the home furniture and spend more money to bring your home. I mean, if it's personal, like family heirlooms, I understand that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
But
but just for those that don't know, some of the finest furniture makers are in the continent of Africa. Some of the most delectable foods. Okay, you made me hungry all of a sudden. I just started thinking of culinary things. Right. So you don't have to bring certain things from the West. You want to change
mm-hmm,
your palate a little, and you'll be surprised at the richness of the diversity of foods. So don't let
mm-hmm,
persons make you think that it's, everyone is in a starvation mode. That's not quite accurate. Right. And
no.
I just, I think I come just so I can learn new types of mangoes. This is a personal and fruits. That's like my personal thing. What's that? What is this? Do my little scientific. So by the time I leave, I have an additional, I'm fine. Right. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to have this type of a conversation. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. They're making sure I'm safe in my space.
Ah, good, 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 good. Yeah.
Right. But I'm very grateful that you bring up that conversation of how we best prepare for traveling into the African continent. And the
Mm-hmm,
fact that you're familiar with the West in terms of Ghana, a tad of the Northeast in terms of Ethiopia, and the Southeast in terms of being, there and settled and moving about in Tanzania. You didn't mention the Kenya part, but we'll come back to that. But I think it's
mm-hmm,
critical for persons to, have an idea of, how do they connect with the six region African Diaspora Alliance in Tanzania, and just in general, some of the other contacts. I know a lot of persons that are watching this broadcast and listening are also interested in technologies. Some people give the impression you always have issues with technology, but you have been able to sustain and maintain a tech corporation in the
mm-hmm,
continent with,
mm-hmm,
and you've made it clear with some degree of success, with a degree of success. So please share that with
mm-hmm.
us.
Yes. For us, we actually had started outsourcing our projects to Africa because when many years ago, 2006 was when we were in Ghana, and at that time had attempted to relocate. However, back then they were doing the rolling blackouts.
Mm,
So every 4 days, yeah, you would have like power outage. And as a technology company, that was very challenging for us.
yeah, that's a no-no.
So
No, no.
yeah, so I've known of other people that stayed.
Hmm.
Again, there's things that infrastructure that you would have to put in place. um, and there was just a lot more. It was much more challenging then. Like I said, this was 2006,
Yeah, it was a
so
while
we
back.
did, yeah, we did give it a try. But at the time we thought, you know what, in order to even keep our clients, it's best, let's go back and revisit this a little bit later. And that's what we did. And in 2010, we decided to move to Ethiopia instead. And even back then, Ethiopia still had similar challenges. It wasn't as, let me see, as structured as Ghana was, or organized. Let me say it that way. But as far as the technology, what did, as far as the need in Africa, though, for tech and for solutions that was needed in the continent, I mean, that has always been here. One of the things that has been challenging is finding developers, because we came through and we met some brilliant people, and we thought there's no reason why we were outsourcing to other countries outside the continent from in the US, and we said, why not outsource to Africa and help develop and also help contribute to the GDP of the
Exactly.
various countries. Yeah, and so that's what we were doing. But what and again, I have to be honest. One of the challenge we had was and still is finding developers locally, because what happens is, even in Kenya, you have a lot of creative people and they're putting out amazing technology. However, they're oftentimes bought out, uh, taken to other countries. I actually we were working on one significantly high level application, and we met a programmer after interviewing, I think, 20 something
Wow.
across the continent, including North Africa. um, we found this guy in Kenya, and he said to us, he was brilliant, I'm telling you. And
Mhm.
he said he was currently working for a company that was based in the US, but he was working there. And so, we went, okay, what would it take for us to shift you from that US employer to us? We couldn't afford him.
Okay.
We could not afford him. So you still had the brain drain. It just looked a bit different,
Correct.
but that has continued even till today.
Mhm.
So what's left here is, on I would say, just a general scale, people who could still use a bit more training
Mhm.
and, right, just overall development. So it still has been challenging for me. I'm in Tanzania, and some of the things I'm working on, I have to reach over to developers that I know from in Kenya to get them to work on some of the things we're doing.
Okay.
So yeah, so you still have that. Some countries, I mean, the technology pool is very, very small, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And that's just what's going on. I'm glad that you brought that into our discussion as well, because I want to make sure that I just am doing the proper recap of some of these key things in terms of just being very organized and strategizing how persons prepare if in the event that they're going to do like an extended visit to prepare to repatriate into the African continent.
Mm-hmm.
It's that your
Mm-hmm.
organization, I'm going to say our organization, because I always infuse myself into the great work that you do, in
Of
terms
course.
of being knowledgeable and connecting with entities like the Sixth Region, African Diaspora Alliance in Tanzania, and just being able to know what are the different key points of preparing, in terms of shipping things, in terms of travel, in terms of addressing the visa requirements in addition to the landed entry requirements. I think persons need to be really clear about that. And it's funny that you said that, because I remember having the ITESA for Tanzania, Rwanda, and Uganda. No, excuse me, Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda,
Mm-hmm.
those three. And it was really interesting to me that even though they were telling you, it was for a year, you're right. It was they would put a different date inside. So you're right, that 3 month piece. And sometimes, you're so excited you got a visa and you see this visa, this looks like it's for a year. You need to look at all of the fine print and make sure that you have some support with organizational entities like what you have described here. And for us, I think it's really important and critical for people to just be comfortable in taking some time to do that extra step of gathering the information and having the knowledge. What are some other? It's funny. We finally got this thing working, so we only have a little less than 10 minutes. 6 minutes. Let me, I just realized I said, "Oh, it happened already." So okay, so I'd prefer to I defer to any closing commentary you'd like to share. We'll
Hmm.
just get the rest of the time because I really would like for people, we'll do this again so that we can at least go
Yes.
through part two as we've discussed before, so people can find out. Tonight was more about just some basic understandings of traveling in and out.
Introduction. Yeah.
Right, but please share with us some things so we can whet our appetite for what's going to come in store next time.
Hmm. Okay, next time, definitely we'll go into some details about some of the different countries because a lot of the immigration process is the same across the board. But within that, you have, fees that would be different or certain processes would be different. So, for instance, in Tanzania, you do need a work permit and a residency permit, and it's two separate applications. While in Kenya, you just apply for the work permit, and the residency permit comes with that. In across the continent, Liberia is one of the easiest places for us in terms of migrating to. It's just that many people are not going there. Again, if you're coming from the US or especially Europe, you'll find some challenges in terms of infrastructure and the development in the city. So that's one of, I think, a deterrent for some people. While
Mhm.
you have in Sierra Leone and some other countries, they're looking at the if you do the um, um, I don't want to say blood test, but if you do that the DNA testing and you do find that you're connected from in those results, you find you're connected with some tribe, then there is a process that they have in place that you can fast track your residency and eventual citizenship. So so there are, some countries where there's a little bit of a difference, and those are some things that I can go into. But one of the things I want to leave uh, your audience with is that there is a lot of room for us. There's a lot of space that we can operate in. There's still a lot of work to be done. We're still needed. That invitation still stand and it's still valid. Um, it's just that as far as the right to return, which is both a UN declaration and an African Union charter, many member states are governments are not even thinking about that. So
Mhm.
there is a, something that they can use to address some of these migration challenges that we have and
Mhm.
help it to be smoother for us for when we come through and want to take up residence in whichever country. So many of the countries are now redoing their policies, their diaspora policies, and their immigration policies. So I think we're close to having changes in place, but it hasn't happened yet. And I really implore a lot of the governments in the Caribbean, especially through CARICOM, to really talk to the member states on the continent about this. And, I think then we can start seeing some movement. But
Okay.
there is just so much that we can do and can fit in and find a place for us. We have 54 countries.
How about that? That one. That's the one I like. That's the when you say it like that. I'm very grateful that you even give us something to explore and be able to put our teeth into things that lend themselves to actionable deliverables. I'm looking forward so much. I feel this was definitely not long enough for us to really get to some of the meat. I know that we wanted to talk about the African Union's uh, article, their constitutive act, and just look at some of the different articles. But we'll get into that in the near future so persons can get
Hmm.
specifics of what is available for us, with us, to us. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for the great
Yes.
work that you've done, which is very exceptional, well respected in the region, in the continent, as well as in the diaspora, and just across the globe, because persons do come to you end up in your home. You're finding housing for them. You're making sure they're not incarcerated. I just need people to understand that there's a part on incarceration. We'll come back to that. I know some of my sisters don't realize it's not just happening on this side of the pond of the Atlantic. It's happening home
Mm-hmm.
too, even with some of
Mm-hmm.
our own. So I just wanted to, because I know I'm going to start hearing music in a minute. So I just want to make sure that I highlight those things and really look forward to having you join us again, Sister Queen, most honorable
Yes, ma'am.
Nana
Yes, ma'am.
Grace Abena
Yes.
James of the 6th Region African Diaspora Alliance in Tanzania. You know, and just before we get ready to check out, just know that there's a lot of activities happening this week. We've already talked, there's a lot of things about eliminating racial discrimination, giving remembrance and honoring our ancestors that traversed across the same Atlantic we're talking about. And on next week, we're going to be having within the organization CPAN, which we are members of as well, grounding our Caribbean Pan African networks. And this will be a program to foster Caribbean unity. And we are hosting a symposium on literally how to address non independent Caribbean territories and protectorates. So it's going to be a very engaging piece on the
Mm-hmm.
26th, Tuesday, March
Yes.
26th, where we get to raise awareness of the Caribbean decolonization movement and strengthening unity, clarity,
Mm-hmm.
and collaboration among non independent Caribbean territories and protectorates. So, those persons that think everybody's independent and free, think again,
Wow.
because there are some non incorporated, non self governing territories, including where I sit here in the Virgin Islands. You know, we
Wow.
use a variety of language when we speak of that, but we're going to use this symposium as a strategic method for us to have some discussion, hear from persons that are from spaces, including the Virgin Islands, UK, British Virgin Islands, US, here, Curacao, Guadeloupe, as well as St. Martin. And it gives us an opportunity to Puerto Rico. I think persons forget sometimes they think Puerto Rico is they're a commonwealth, but again, they're still not an independent country, right? Like others. And I think we're also going to be joined by none other than the Honorable Dr. Carlisle Corbin, who has more than 40 years experience in international governance as an advisor to the UN and other agencies that are international, regional, as well as national. So we're looking forward. It's going to be moderated by the chair of the Caribbean Pan African Network, none other than the Honorable Ambassador to the Republic of Barbados, also an international attorney, and that's none other than our comrade David Commission. So we're going to be able to have a number of other conversations that come out of that. Participants are welcome. Persons will see this link. If they go to Ask Speaks, they can go to Chinzera Kahina, or just we're going to keep putting some of these different bits of information. I will definitely put the link for people to be able to engage inside of our YouTube pages here, so persons will just know where they can register and be participatory. So again, culture heals humanity. Land is our foundation. Spiritual harmony unifies us. It is always an honor and a privilege to be able to share information with great ones like yourself, Nana. I'm looking forward.
Yes.
Give our
Yes.
love to Tanzania. We coming soon. We
Yeah.
coming soon. We
Yes.
coming
Yes.
soon. We're like
I'm
trying to.
holding space for you.
I give thanks. And again, you've been listening to Building a
Asante
New.
sana.
It's a blessing. You know, we're going to just keep this energy going so we can just keep it going.
Yes.
And we were talking
Yes.
about our poetry. So people that don't know, this was a poem that I won a international poet competition with. And then I went in the studio and had a brother named Army reggae it. So I just want people to enjoy the vibe as we close out. Woo! I want freedom. Have a purpose in all you do. Just make sure that your purpose is true. Have a purpose in this here life, so your life ain't full of strife. I live a purpose each and every day, so we can live in Yahweh. I have a purpose in all you do. Just make sure your life is true. every time we walk on the streets, we see all the children crying. Every time we see our day, it seems like people are lying. Everywhere that we see on this earth is supposed to be about the birth, but it's all death. And now we have